Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video, well, I'm going to be working on the Bronco. Now, as you already know, I've painted this, done all kinds of work to it to make it look as good as I can make it look. But there are some things that need to happen to complete the process. I've already hung the doors, put in the hinges, put on the door straps, all that sort of thing, and all that worked out really well. The last thing, other than the hood, is getting the tailgate together and on. Now, I've looked at this tailgate and I've looked at how it operates and that sort of thing, and hopefully I can make a good video on how to assemble all the hardware to make it functional. I can only assume, you know how that goes, I can only assume that everything was test fitted by the builder of the body and that the tailgate, all that fits properly. So what I want to do is get in all the rods, the latch handle, all that sort of thing, and see how it goes. So let me show you what I'm working with. Alright, so I have the new tailgate. It's been painted. It's also been coated with rafter, tinted rafter to match the body color. And I have a variety of pieces and parts sitting here. Now, I have not put one of these together before, but I'm pretty good at figuring things out. And I may approach this in a different way than maybe some other people, but I just want to show you what this involves. On this side we have two metal rods. Now these connect to the latch pins, or latch release bracket as that is called, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. And what I found is these two rods, there's different lengths. So I'll look at that and verify which one goes to which side. It should be pretty self-evident. I think the short one goes to the passenger side, I think. And then along with that, there are some cotter pins, and those will go through these little holes here, which will interact with the handle itself. These ends, you can see it's got a funky bend to it. I'm pretty confident that goes through that slot in the latch assembly. So what we have is the main bracket, and you can see it's got this plate on the back side here, and the handle itself. The handle will fit basically like that. Below that we have this bolt, which has a square shoulder on it that goes through this plate, and then this nut that goes on the bottom here. Basically this bolt goes through here with this plate on top. It'll go through this handle, and this will align this little cut right there, or that edge. And then we have some washers that go with that. So I have to get those in the right sequence. That's to keep it, you know, from moving around or rattling too much, and so that'll go in that process. This is the other latch, and then apparently there is a bolt kit. Whole bunch of pieces and parts in there, and also these brackets, which will end up here in the corner, and that's going to hold the tailgate when it shuts. So I'm going to try and get all this together and show you as much as I can in the process. Now, since I'm dealing with a freshly painted tailgate, you may end up having some paint and clear coat in the threads, so it can be beneficial to run a tap into these threads. And I would do this on just about anything that you're working on in this area, because you don't want to be trying to run a bolt or a screw into something and end up binding it and having problems. So it just takes a few minutes and make sure everything is clear. Okay, so I've laid out the components for the handle and the bracket and everything. Basically, as I showed in the demonstration, I hope I was correct, this will fit on two different ways, say four different ways, but it's really two different ways. And when you get this in place, you want to make sure you have the angle right so that when the handle is on, it's in a position that it's going to want to pull the rods. So in this case, I believe I need to be like that. That makes sense. So whenever you pull the handle, this rod from the driver's side is going that direction, and that rod from the passenger side is coming this direction. So once you get that in place, you put on your little nylon washer, insert this through your bracket, your other nylon washer, and then this wave washer. And that's to help keep tension on everything. Put on your handle, and then you'll put the nut on. Now you want to make sure you test fit all this stuff so that when it comes time to make the handle fit together, that bolt will fit easily into the shape of your handle. Just line that up. There it goes. And that wave washer is wanting to fight you a little bit. Okay, so I tightened up the nut a little bit, and when you pull the handle, that's the action you want. So that's how that is going to work. Now, the rods, I was right that the longer rod goes on the left side and the shorter rod goes on the right side. So whenever this is assembled, these rods are going to sit so that they're hanging down, because you don't want it upside down. So if the cotter pin were to wear out, then this would fall out. So you want to make sure it's good. The weight of it is holding it in place. The challenge is getting all this connected inside of the opening. So we're going to try to demonstrate that as well. And then whenever you're looking at this, let's just say you have that. Hopefully I'm still in frame there. And you have this piece. Well, this goes through this opening like that. I don't know if I got it on frame there. Okay, so this basically just slides into this opening that way. On the passenger side, I believe it's the opposite direction. Let me demonstrate that. Because the end result is you want that rod, that end, facing down. So on the passenger side, to make that rod face down, you have to come in from the back side, I believe. Yeah, that's how that works. So I'm going to go in from the back side, that locks it in, and then that rod is facing down. Alright, this latch mechanism, it's only going to fit one way, but it's only going to function one way as well. You've got this tapered end here, right, that has to hit the catch and allow it to slide in so that it pops over it. So it's only going to fit one way, and I want to make sure again that rod is facing down, so I'm going to put that in like that, insert this into the opening, and it comes out on the inside here, and then I'm going to use 2 bolts and 2 washers and lock that in place. I will say there's some very minor adjustment in this, very minor. Hopefully it doesn't need to be adjusted, but if it does, there's a little bit of room there. So I'll put the other one in, and then we'll work on getting the latch in place. One more thing that's going to help with getting those rods in place is taking the latch and compressing it. That way it moves in slightly and gives you a little more room. So what I'm going to do is just take this screwdriver and push this in and just stick a bolt in here. I'll do the same thing on the other side, and that's going to help compress those rods. Alright, so at this point I need to try to get the rods connected to the handle, and you can see there's actually movement here in these rods. That's because of the slots that are cut in the latch pieces. So I think it's going to be easiest to go for the one in the back. I say in the back. The passenger side should be easier. Now, it's kind of hard to film all this and show you, but the idea is I can get this in, and then install one of these cotter pins in place. Kind of hard for me to not block the camera and get this in place, but that is the challenge of it, right? So what's going to happen, I'm going to have to get through this gap, get the cotter pin in, and once I get it in place, then I can bend it. Pretty tight space. Okay, so that one's in, and then I can get this one in, same kind of thing. Get the cotter pin. Definitely helps to have some pliers, because I can't get my fingers in there. And I don't want to get the pin stuck inside the latch, so I'm being a little more cautious with it. Okay, so there, both cotter pins are in, and then it's a matter of installing this into place. We've got 4 countersunk screws that'll fit into those. And I'm just going to get these started for the moment. I want to pull the tape out from underneath. And there's also 2 more attachment points in the back. So I'll have to turn this over to get those in. Now I have seen other kits that have a gasket. I don't think this kit is meant to have a gasket. There was nothing in the kit hardware package, let's say. So I'm not going to worry about the gasket. Yeah, there's a gap all the way around. So I'll flip it back over and try to get the other hardware in the back. Okay, in the kit there's 2 short bolts and 2 longer bolts. I'm going to assume, we know how that goes, I'm going to assume that it's the 2 shorter bolts. It doesn't make any sense to put really long bolts in there, and there's no washers for these that I could see. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. And now I should be able to pull the handle and release the bolts. Yep. So let me show you that. So if I rotate the handle, that's one. Okay, that one didn't want to release. I had to push it in with the screwdriver, but it is moving quite well. So, happy with that. Alright, so let's look at this hardware again. I've got 4 big bolts. Those are going to go in the bottom here to hold the pivot point for the tailgate. There's also 4 washers. I've got 6 of the smaller washers. I've got 4 of these bolts and 2 of these bolts. Now, I'm not exactly sure where everything else is going to go. I know that these are held in up here, and obviously they've got countersunk screws in them, so you've got the screw with the locking washer, or the the little gnarly washer that goes behind that. So that'll take care of those. And then you've got well, we're using these upgraded anti-rattle pivot points, let's say. So those will go there, and these bolts and washers will take care of that. So that settles that. These other screws, I believe, are for the license plate setup and the light and all that sort of thing. So I don't know what these other bolts are for exactly. They may be part of a kit, or maybe part of the kit to have your straps or whatever to hold the tailgate. But we are using this kit also, this tailgate cables from Wild Horses. And basically, if you look at the picture here, it snaps onto your tailgate, and then it goes behind the latch mechanism, or the post where the catch hits for the tailgate. So basically, this kit looks like this. So you have this round portion, this with a shoulder on it, and then the bolt goes into that, and that goes into that, and that will go up here. So that'll thread in, and of course it may take a little figuring out, because once you put this in, you may have to go through it to put that bolt on the inside. So it may take a little playing around to get these all in place. So once that is done, obviously we're going to try to get this tailgate on. Hopefully these work like they're designed. This should fit inside of this opening, and it does. So that's supposed to reduce the rattle noise, and we'll find out. Otherwise, these other pieces are just going to be set aside for now, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, here's where I'm at. I found that I have to install this. I cannot install the other piece and install this at the same time, simply because this screw is almost in line with the bushing that goes in here, so you can't get a screwdriver in there. So that's in place, and what I will do is try to adjust everything before I put in the cable strap. Down here I have bolted in on the driver's side the mount point, same as this, and what I've decided to do is attempt to do it by myself. So I put my stand here and I lowered it so that basically this just slid right onto that, and then I taped a popsicle stick up against the inside of the body. Now the plan is going to be, I raise this up, get it high enough that I can get this inside, and then lower it back down and get the bolts in. Fingers crossed. Well, that worked. That worked. Nice. Okay. Well, I'm just going to see how this lines up. We'll leave that popsicle stick in there. Need to make some adjustments. Okay. So it looks like I have to get the mounts moved in further so that it'll clear the latch. Okay. At least we know that works. So let me do some tuning on it and take a look afterwards. Okay, so I attempted to close this, and while there is adjustment here, up and down and kind of in and out, it turns out this angle is bent too sharp. And I already straightened that one out, but let me show you on this one. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this is actually bent too far. So let me show you how I'm going to fix that. So I mounted it in my vise. I'm going to take a big old crowbar, come up underneath it, and just flex up a little. Now this may take a few tries to get it to where it's going to fit as it should, but that definitely improved the angle. Okay, so there may have been some bad words, I don't know for sure, but let me tell you, this took some time and effort. I'm not sure if this tailgate was actually test fitted before, when the vehicle was built. I don't know. I know that there are some things that I've noticed as I've gone forward. Part of that is like this area right here. Now I had seen that whenever everything was, when it first arrived, and I thought, well, that can't be that big a deal. It just, maybe it's supposed to shape like that. I don't know. But that is very close to hitting the tailgate. So probably in hindsight, I should have ground that down and re-welded it so that it was more flush. Now, the tailgate itself, I don't know. I was told that it was test fitted. And it very well may have been, but it did not fit like it should. What I had to do is shim out the catches. So in this case, I've got, I don't know if it's I think it's 3 washers behind this to bring it out far enough so that the hook or the catch can catch inside there. Well, when I did that, this part of it was now too long in effect, and it was hitting the inside of the tailgate right here. So I had to take and grind this down in order to make it close. Now I still may do a little more grinding on that just to clean it up a little bit more. It should have a bit of a bevel right here on this edge, so that when the catch comes in, it tapers into it. On this side, I ended up with 4 washers behind it, and I also had to straighten it out, like I had said, and it was a struggle to get it inboard enough to where it would catch. So it is what it is at this point. I have no control over most of this. The cable catches, those are really nice. So you do have to go through this hole and kind of pre-assemble everything. You put the bushing up and put the collar on. So the cable has to be on the collar. Basically, it goes into the hole and the bushing, but you have to feed it all, like hold the pieces up in here. I can demonstrate, but hold the pieces up in there and run the bolt straight through, and that way that's how you bolt it in. So I'm going to show you something with the tailgate. I've been working on it. I've been trying to reshape the tailgate somewhat, and I think I got it. I mean, it works now. It will latch and close. Okay, so I'll demonstrate this. The cable itself, pretty simple. It has this catch on the end of it. You just slide it over the post and it'll lock in. Really only fits one way. I'm not even going to demonstrate that. That's too easy. So I get the bushing on the inside. Again, this takes a little bit of coordination. So if you're challenged by that, put this on the cable end, kind of feed everything inside. This is where you've got to be coordinated, hopefully, and get it all in one shot. So there's that, and then line up on the hole and thread that in, and so that's all that takes. So I will be removing this. I want to play with this edge a little more, but I just wanted to demonstrate that. All right, let me show you the tailgate. So it comes up nice. It actually hits a little bit. I have to slide it slightly to the left, and there it'll clear. I am not one to just slam a tailgate. I've never done that. I've always used the handle like it was more of a latch. Just what I've done to keep from abusing a tailgate. So I'm going to rotate this, bring this up. Now the driver's side is caught, and there's enough of a gap here that I can put my finger in. I know it's not supposed to look that way, but let me show you. So here's the gap pretty decent. Come over here, and this is making contact basically. And over here, I have that much of a gap. So what I've been able to do is just kind of give this a good shove, and it latches. Now the nice part about it, right now it wants to rattle around a little bit, right? Let me just show you my technique. So whenever this thing is closed, it's not fully closed. You need to come over here, you just give it a little nudge, and now, hey, there's no rattle at all. So that's one plus. Okay, like I said, it is what it is. You know, these Bronco bodies that are made by a variety of different places. I mean, I don't even want to name them all, but there's a bunch of people that are making these reproduction, let's say, bodies. So they're taking aftermarket panels, fitting them together, and for the most part, they're doing a decent job from what I can see. This is okay. It's a little bit different than if I were doing it. You know how I am. I like to have zeros, you know. I want my gaps to be consistent all the way across. I want things to latch and close and just to line up. This thing, I can't do that. There are things that I did address, but there's also things that I can't address. So anyway, I hope you got some information that helps you if you're trying to put together one of these tailgates. It's not that complicated. And if you have problems, maybe I've given you some ideas as to what you can do to fix it. You know, I always try to give insight into how I do my repairs or whatever I have to modify to make them work. And I think I did a decent job on this one. So there will be one more video on this, and it's basically just going to be a walk around and show the whole thing. That's about all I can do. I'm not finishing the vehicle. I'm not putting in the engine or wiring or seats or any of that sort of thing. My job is done at this point. So if you would, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think about this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And share my videos as much as you can. I also want to thank my patrons who continue to support me. Without them, I probably wouldn't really be doing this anymore, because YouTube revenue is in the tank. It really is. I like to give information and help people as much as I can. And if you're interested in doing that, there is a link in the description below for my patron page. Also, I have Amazon links in my descriptions. So if you click on that, I get a little tiny percentage of whatever you buy. But that'll be all for now. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See you.